going to call to order tonight's meeting of the Board of Adjustment for the City of Covington. Roll call, please.
Ms. Butler?
Here.
Mr. Huvall?
Here.
Mr. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Himes? Absent. Ms. Williams?
Here.
Just a reminder to the commissioners, there is a new microphone system, and sometimes you have to lean into it a little bit so that everything can be on the tape for that fine gentleman back there. The packets that we received earlier had the meeting minutes from the June 19th, 2023 meeting. Do I hear any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, I will accept a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion.
I second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Huvall?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Before we get started on tonight's meeting, I'd like to say congratulations to our legal counsel, Mr. Rod Rodriguez, who was reappointed at the last council meeting.
Thank you.
And you can never take another vacation.
Great longevity.
You've been on it a lot longer than me, and I think I'm on my 10th year. Okay, so our first case tonight is one that was tabled from the June 19th meeting, and I'm going to read it out for the record. A variance request from Appendix B, Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Part 3, Use Districts, Section 3.14, RM2, Multifamily Residential, -3.1406, Performance Standards, Number 3, lot depth can be reduced from 140 to 120 for performance standards. Proposed lot A, B, and C, and D in Square 26, City of Covington, Parish of St. Tammany. The variance request is in conjunction with a proposed subdivision request to subdivide or re-subdivide Square 26 into lots A, B, C, and D, each lot measuring 120 by 120, each lot containing 14,400 square feet. The property has the municipal address of 711 South New Hampshire Street, Covington, St. Tammany Parish. Mr. Rodriguez, our legal counsel, is going to bring us up to speed.
I know this matter was discussed at length in my absence last month. As the property is currently zoned, I think it would allow 16 apartments to be constructed. The petitioner has requested that the property be subdivided into 4 lots to accommodate a single-family development on the property, meaning 4 single-family homes. He does not meet the lot depth. The square is 240 by 240. The lots have to be 120 by 140, so he's requesting a 20-foot variance on the depth of each of the 4 lots, which requires the variance from you. We're faced with somewhat of a catch-22 situation from the perspective of both the neighbors and the owner. At the outset, the petitioner has submitted his rezoning petition. However, that rezoning petition probably takes 60 days to get to, 90 days to get to the zoning commission, refer it to the city council, introduce an ordinance, let the ordinance lay over, and then get passed. The catch-22 from the owner's standpoint relates to him rezoning the property. In other words, currently, he has a 240-foot by 240-foot piece of property that allows 16 apartments. If he rezones the property to single-family with no variance, he has 1 lot that he can put 1 house on. Obviously, the economic consequences to him are substantial. The catch-22 from the neighbor's standpoint is, if the variance is granted and either he withdraws his subdivision request, which means it's moot, or he re-subdivided into 4 lots under the current zoning, he could put 4 duplexes there, which they don't want. It is my understanding that obviously the neighbors nor the developer owner are interested in any type of multifamily. I understand that Mr. Villavaso had some concerns about the approach I'm going to suggest, but because of the catch-22 nature of this, the only way to protect both parties, in my opinion, if you're inclined to grant the variance, is to grant the variance contingent upon the rezoning of the property to single-family. That way, he's protected if he rezones it, the variance goes into effect, and he can do his 4 lots. If he gets the variance and he doesn't get the zoning, well, then he is where he is. But the only way to protect him is to make it contingent.
We tried to.
I talked to
Last month.
Mr. Villabasso. He has some concerns about that, but it is the only solution that I can come up with where both parties can rely on each aspect of the process to know they're protected. I don't know how else to do it. If the owner proceeds without the variance, he's totally at the mercy of this board after he rezones it if something happens, whether you change your mind, whether politically something changes. If he doesn't get the variance, he just took a $2 million piece of property and made it a $600,000 single-family lot. That's not fair to him.
Right.
And on the same side, if he gets it and doesn't go forward, then it's not fair to the neighbors. So I think the way to do it is accommodate the intent of everybody. Give him the variance and require the rezoning. I don't know how else it can be done.
That's what we wanted to do from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I understand Mr. Villabasso's concerns, but I think the uniqueness of the situation and what the ramifications are because of the timing involved. You can't have one without the other, and you can't put one ahead of the other. We're stuck. I don't know how else to do it.
I think we ought to make the
Make
motion that we started the last meeting with, which was to approve it conditioned upon or contingent upon it being rezoned
Single family.
single-family residential, which I think everybody was in agreement with.
Yeah.
And was okay with.
Yep.
Can you step up to the mic, please, just so that it could be for the record? State your name and address. I remember from the last time, yeah.
My name's Roland Gallatin. I live on South America Street. The solution proposed sounds like the perfect solution. I just have one question, and that when we say contingent upon, is there a time limit? Like contingent within 90 days, contingent, is there a time limit? That's all.
Well, I mean, you could put a time limit, but my point is, frankly, he can withdraw all of his requests at any time he wants.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can make him have a time limit other than his property is not marketable as he envisions it until he finishes the process.
Right. Yeah, it kind of
I
becomes.
mean, my guess would be 90 days would be, 90 to 120 days would be the process. But I'm just advising you, if I'm a petitioner, whether it be for the variance, the subdivision, or the zoning, I can withdraw my request up until the moment it is approved. You can't make me do that. But this way, either way he goes, you're covered.
Yeah, I don't think a time limit necessarily is needed, because it's kind of moot if it, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
what-
mean,
Correct.
again, he could withdraw everything he submitted and go back to where he is now.
Right, yeah. So,
Yeah, because our variance holds no weight.
Unless he rezones.
Unless he rezones.
Right.
So was that a,
I think it was a,
so Mr. Huval made a motion, did you catch that? Okay, and I second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Huval?
yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Good luck.
There you go.
Did you want to say something? No, I mean, it's already passed, so you're,
I just wanted to say that zoning is already, that application has been filed already, and I'm up.
You should be on next month's zoning commission. If they approve the rezoning request, it gets forwarded to the council for introduction in September, and then the first meeting in October, they can vote on it. And you would be rezoned single family. If the timeline flows, yeah.
Great.
Thank you for coming, those who came. Okay, so the second case on the docket tonight is an after-the-fact variance request from Appendix B, Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance Part 4, General Provisions, Section 4.7, Fencing Regulations, 4.702, parentheses 1, height restrictions, height limitation of 4 feet only is permissible within the front yard setback lot areas. The petitioner has constructed a fence along the front of his property. The fence replaces a fence that was previously in the same location but has been down. The new fence is 54 inches high. Petitioner is requesting a variance of 8 inches to allow the 54-inch high fence along the front of the property located at 415 West 26th Avenue, City of Covington, Parish of St. Tammany. The petitioner is Peter Lewis. Did you want to speak, or do you want to listen to other people speak first? Come up to the mic and speak.
And, Ms. Butler, if I may, I am going to recuse myself from this matter. I have represented Mr. Lewis on a matter
Legal
in the
matter.
past, and so it's appropriate that I not participate.
That's for the record.
All right, I just want to thank you guys for being here and serving. I know you can be at other places, but thank you for being here. First of all, I know I provided you guys with a lengthy letter and a lot of information. I hope that was helpful in looking over my documents. Secondly, I'd like you to know that in reinstalling this fence along the front, it was in my understanding that I was following the right process. And looking at section 4.7, which basically says that no permit is required for maintenance or repair of a grandfather non-conforming fence if I was within 50% of the ordinance. I came up with 660 square feet of my total property. And if I totaled up the total front yard, it was about 180 feet, minus the 3 driveways and a walkway to get into the yard. That's what I used after the hurricane. And then when I was cited, I was told that I could not use that I had to refer to the original ordinance that was in 2013 under section 4.702, which was saying, which also was kind of misleading to me, which says, notwithstanding any subdivision or development restriction, a fence or wall not more than 8 feet in height may project into or enclose any required front, side, rear yard, provided a height limitation of 4 feet only permissible within the front yard setback. It does not say a setback. I had to do a little research to find what the setback was. I did find out that the setback was in 20. The setback, I'm told now, is 20 feet, and I would like to provide you these pictures. I measured my setback from my property, I'm told from my property line back. If I do 20 feet from my property line back, I actually hit my front porch. So I don't even have 20 feet to go back from my fence line back. Again, like I said, I was just replacing the fence from the front. So I'm kind of in a hard place. I had already put in the fence, installed it. It had already been in place before they came out. I mean, the city passed my house every day, everybody. So I'm just asking you guys to give me a variance. I mean, I put in over $5,000 in this fence, and it beautifies the neighborhood, it beautifies the property. It keeps safety of my grandkids. It actually, it helps me out with my medical conditions, not having to be outside with them all the time, and the safety of my kids, of people coming in and out my yard. And it's just 8 inches at a little bit higher than what it was.
Any questions for the commissioner? How long was the fence down? Because I went back on Google Earth, and I found in different years, there was no fence there. The only thing that was there was the brick foundings that have evidently supported a metal fence many years ago.
But I bought it in 2015, and there's 3 lots. I bought the house, and then I bought the 2 lots on the side. I tore the 2 lots on the side had a higher fence than the fence in front of the house. So when I went to install the metal fence with the pillars, the pillars started to sink. So I was told by several contractors that I needed to let them settle. So that's why there's a time lapse in between. And what you see on Google Earth, because Google Earth, I guess, is not up to date.
Well, no, I was going back to look and see when, I noticed that when the house went up for sale in 2015, there was what I would consider a, what do they call
like
that? From
a
the
peak-
road, an ambiance fence or something like that, that was really kind of cute, but it didn't do anything other than kind of emphasize the house, but I couldn't see any fence that was there. I went
It
all
was
the
a-
way back to about 2000, so that was
When I
just
got
my
it,
question.
there was like a PVC fence, but, I mean, you touched it and it just crumbled.
Well, I mean, you know, you mentioned Ida in your paperwork, and I wanted to see, I went back further than Katrina just to see how the property had developed. So, any questions for the commissioner?
Yeah, I'm just, are we talking about just the height limitation? That's the variance request today.
Right.
The setback and all, that's not relevant.
That's not relevant.
No.
Okay, so we have some
It's-
people.
Excuse me. it
I'm
is
sorry.
4 feet less, well, 48 inches less 54 is 6 inch.
Yeah, 6 inches.
Just to go on record.
Right.
54, right. Yeah, got my math mind working.
48 to 54.
I'm glad we have a petition. Okay. You recused, you didn't have any questions, though, okay. All right, so we have some other speakers tonight that want to talk on this. The first one is Mr. Patrick O'Brien. Is that you? Come forth to the microphone and state again your name and your address.
Hi, Patrick O'Brien, 313 West 26th Avenue. Mr. Lewis, yes, he built his fence. I'm the one who kind of said it's too high, and it was reported to him before he finished it that to stop and, file for a permit, things like this. We just asking him to put his fence down to what we all have to have, 4 feet. The whole neighborhood's doing this. I moved into that neighborhood before Mr. Lewis. The neighborhood was terrible when I moved in. I spent a lot of money on my house renovating it. Beth across the street spent a lot of money on her house. Barbara bought the greenhouse. She's getting ready to add another $200,000 to her house. They renovated the house next door. We all have 4 feet fence. We want to keep it within ordinance. I don't see why he should get anything different than what we have.
Mr. O'Brien, were you the one who handed us this petition here?
Yes.
Okay, and so one of the commissioners had a question, and we all know that we're talking about 26th Avenue, and some of these are on 26th Avenue, but I'm assuming that these other addresses on these other streets are nearby. Is
Yes,
that
they're
correct?
people who live within the city of Covington.
Yeah,
And, told them what was going on, would they care to sign it? They said, yeah.
right. Okay, so any questions from the commissioners of this person?
So it's a 4-inch difference?
6.
6 instead of 8.
4, 6, 8.
You want to step up to the podium and give your name and address, please?
I'm Cynthia Young. Thank you,
Push it
guys.
down a little bit so you can speak into
Oh,
the,
all right.
there you go.
I'm Cynthia Young, and I live at 504 West 25th Avenue, 25th and Van Buren. I did some research in the files in City Hall, and I made myself familiar with this issue because Mr. Lewis in our neighborhood has not been a great neighbor. I did notice the fence, that it was being built very tall, but it was told to me, and I went and measured it myself, that it was taller. It was 8 inches taller than I would have to have a fence. And I would love to have a taller fence, in front of my property, but I can't. I live in a community, and because I live in a community, we have code rules. So I follow the rules. It is astounding to me that a code officer went by Mr. Lewis's house and told him that his fence was not legal. This was in March when he was building the fence. Told him the fence was too high, and he also did not have a permit, and the city actually denied him an after-the-fact permit. So already, we have 2 incidents where the code officers, the code enforcement people, have made him aware that the fence that he's building is not within the limit, not with legal. But he continued to build it, and then he painted it. And that, to me, is astounding. That, to me, borders on contempt for the rules or the codes that we try to live by in a community. You know, if you want to live like that, then move to the country. You know, we live in a city. So, you know, I also, it rubbed me the wrong way that he's saying that there was a fence there before. I've lived in this property on Van Buren and 25th since 1991. So I've seen that property, and it was made very beautiful at one point. And yes, there was a little staged fence there. I believe it was there when he bought it. I'm not sure, but it looks like in 2015, that little stage fence, and it was just a little short stage fence. Before that, in 2008, there was like a lattice-type fence there, but that had been
Fell down, yeah.
long gone.
That was in
But for the last, I'd say for the last 3 years, those concrete posts went up, and they started to shift, and that was an eyesore. But, you know, that's just the way. I had no idea what other plans he had for that. But to try to say that was an existing fence that he's replacing is just not true. I used to go on that property because he had dogs tied up with no water, and I'm an animal lover, and I would take water to them. So I was able to get into the property. So I know that there was no fence there. So I don't like to see people game our community. And unfortunately, I just cannot imagine myself being told that I'm building an illegal fence and asked to stop, and then I continue to keep building it and then paint it. So to me, this is just, you know, if this is the way we work, then I'd like to know that that's the way we work, because
The laws of
that's the way I can do that.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm kind of new to this whole process, so, you know, I follow the rules. But if this is the way that it works in Covington, then I need to know this. I'd like to know this, because right now I'm going through the whole permit process where I'm getting a permit to put up a little pergola. And, you know, it's very slow. I know I'm going to have to pay money for it. And I would sure like to just build it and then say, okay, I'll just go ask for an adjustment, and maybe I'll get it. But anyway, I just want our community to all work together, and it's just not, we should all be on the same page. So anyway, thank you for your
Thank you.
service.
Mr. Lewis, you have a rebuttal?
Yes, I do. First of all, I work with the community every day, so I'm sad that you guys didn't come talk to me at any time. And I know you're a barber right down the street from me. Second of all, when code enforcement never came to my house and talked to me, he actually gave me a call on March 27th and said, we may have an issue with your fence. He never said stop. He said, go apply for an after-the-fact permit. That's how that process went. Second of all, my dogs stay inside. From birth, when we adopted them, they stayed inside. They still stay inside. They stay inside, always have. They go outside every now and then to play like they used to. But that's the reason why we upgraded our fence, because they're big dogs. They're Labs and German Shepherds. So a lot of the things that were said tonight, it's just not factual. I'm a councilman. I try to follow the laws and ordinances. I don't try to hurt anybody or do anything in the city outside of what's written. But if I make a mistake, I'm going to admit to it, and we try to correct it. And I try to be a good neighbor. So when I heard that my neighbors complained, I was shocked. One, because I only have one neighbor on the right, one on the left. One on the right just bought a house. The one on the left is a teacher, and we talk every day. Just like I said, he's a barber, so I know my neighbor. of course, she stays on 25th, I don't really know her like that. Second of all, I mean, they could have came and talked to me and said, we got an issue with your fence, and we could have settled it, besides coming here and wasting more money.
My report here from the building permit department says that the property was inspected by Inspector Logan Friendly of the permit department, and after the fact, the permit was denied because the fence is too tall. The owner continued to work on the fence, and the project now appears to be complete. So there was somebody out there to look at it, and I'm assuming, because you are who you are, that they would have called you and told you that we're sending an inspector out, or an inspector came out while you weren't there, and this is what they found.
Right, like I said, I got a call on the 27th, but I got it from Mr. Dennis.
But you just said that nobody came out, and this report...
Nobody came out while I was there. I got a call
Right,
from
but
Mr.
if there
Dennis.
was somebody out there to inspect it,
Right, he said he went out, he saw my fence.
and then that the fence is too tall, and at that time is when the issue came to a head.
Right, he said there was a complaint on my fence, that it was too high. He said my pillars was fine. He said the fence around my property was fine, but I need to
It's
do
the
it.
front fence.
Right.
So my question to you, Mr. Lewis, is if he told you the fence was too tall, what were your options? Could you not have stopped it until you
It was
had...
up. The only thing that was not done was the gates to the property. If I remember correctly, it was the gates that were not done. And he said, go apply for an after-the-fact permit. And then I went and I looked at my options. It was after-the-fact permit or come to see you guys. But at no point that I heard anybody say, you need to stop. And the fence was just brown at the time. It wasn't stained.
But if he said to you that the fence was too tall, wouldn't that indicate that you were in violation of something somewhere and you should have stopped?
Well, again, as I kind of spoke to you guys earlier, I was still under the assumption that I was following the correct guidelines. And I thought that if I applied for that permit, they would approve it because I don't have setback in my fence.
No, your
I
fence is
don't have-
right on the...
It's right on it. I don't have 20 feet to go back. If I go 20 feet, I'm gonna be on my porch. So there's no way for me to go 20 feet. Again, which is why I don't understand why that permit wouldn't have been approved.
Because you were in violation of the ordinance of the fence being too tall. That's why you have to come before this body here.
Which is what I did.
Right.
Right.
But you also filed for an after-the-fact permit, and that was denied. Is that correct?
Well, that shouldn't have went through when I applied for this. I don't know why that was even processed, to be honest. Because there was two things. I don't know why that was processed.
They couldn't give him the after-the-fact permit without the variance, that's why they denied it. But if he gets the variance, he can go get the after-the-fact, but it was denied originally because it's a violation. He couldn't give him a permit for illegal fence.
And that's the issue here. It's an illegal fence.
Well, technically, it's out of compliance.
Right, right. The reason that you don't have, I've gone by the house several times. I don't remember seeing any gates. All I see is an open. So you have not put any gates up for the safety?
The gates are up.
And they're never closed?
Yeah, we close them in the evening time and when the dogs are loose.
Oh, because I've been by there at different times and I've never seen the gates closed. So I can't say that I've been by there at night. So, any other
There's 3 gates and one walk up for sidewalk.
Does anybody else wish to speak on this issue?
Hi, my name is Pinky Parker. I'm Peter's sister. And I just want to say that the dogs always have lived in the house ever since they were babies. The only time that they are out in the yard, when he let them out to go, do what they have to do, and they right back inside. The dogs never lived outside, never. And as far as the gate, he has the gate there because he have grandkids, and they're always out, in the yard playing. And that's just for, their safety. So,
Can't you just cut the fence
The fence off.
down 8 inches? That's all.
And I would love to do that. he designed it where it would be a flat top so the kids won't climb on it and get hurt. And again, I'm on a fixed income. I don't have that money to pull out my pocket now. I've already paid him. And I can't go back to the insurance and say, hey, we built a fence that we need to fix. So I don't have another, $3,000 to give the guy to come out and cut 180 feet of fence and then reattach it. I mean, I just don't have it.
Ms. Young, you want to come forth again and speak? I can't hear you. You need to come up front.
Is there a time limit for if it is a replacement fence, if you have to build, or is there a time limit for when you, say, start a fence and finish it, like a development permit? Like the posts were there for probably 2 to 3 years, I don't know, but they were there a long time before there was any wood.
I'd have to refer to legal counsel.
Well, the construction of the post may not have necessarily been related to a fence, although it sounds great, but if he would have gotten a building permit, there is a time limit on a building permit, probably a year,
Yeah.
but you got to apply for one to.
And if that
get
runs
the
out,
time
you
limit.
apply for another one, right?
Yeah, you can apply for extension,
Right.
and you'll get it.
There was. I gave you guys pictures of the fence. There was a fence with a lattice, and there was, right, that was the old fence. Then you'll see a fence with a lattice, which was also in the front, and then there was a picket white fence. All that was there pre-existing. It was there when I bought it in 2015. It was, thank you. Thank you. Right. In 2017, I took them down, I installed the brick column, and the column started to sink. And that's when I was told to let the column settle until when they settled, they'll come in and straighten them up. The contractor finally came in and said, we can now straighten the columns up and install your fence. And that was after Hurricane Ida. And now you see I installed the correct fence.
Is this a licensed contractor that put this fence up?
Yes.
Because typically, the licensed contractor will file the permit.
And do it right.
So,
Does anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Come to the microphone, please, and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Verazonda Walker. I live in Covington, Louisiana, and
I'm sorry, where?
Covington.
Okay.
And I'm just concerned, like, is it like interrupting someone's day, or what is the reason that they are complaining, or that there's a complaint about the fence? Just because I made it in a little bit
It's not
late.
in compliance with the law.
Okay, and that's because of the 8 inches?
The height.
The height?
of it, yeah.
Okay.
that's all.
I have a quick question for Mr. Lewis. The gate I see in this picture, this was after the fence was erected, right? This looks to be, is this the right height, the gate?
I believe the gates are the correct height.
So,
Correct.
yeah, these were put in after you were notified, I guess, right?
I think so. I would think so.
But these are at 48 inches, what you're saying? the gates.
Right.
This is a difficult case for me, and I'm sure for the rest of the commissioners, but I'm just going to say something, and then I'll make a motion. Mr. Lewis, you are a representative of this city, and 2 weeks ago, I saw you place your hand on the Bible and promise to abide by the laws and the ordinances of this town. The fact that the city has reported in their report that you continue to work on a fence after knowing that it did not comply with the city ordinances makes me, I don't know the correct word, but disappointment probably would be it. And as Mrs. Young said, you know, we have rules and ordinances that have been in place for a long, long time. And I remember once when I was doing research on the history of Covington, fences came into a lot of the ordinances in the old days because we were told to put up fences to contain our cattle, and then we could put them down, and that went back and forth with the old-timey city councils in the 1800s. The fact that you did not follow the law, you did not stop, you continued to make it, is to me, as was stated earlier, a sort of a thumb on the nose to the rest of the constituents in your area and the citizens of Covington. And for that reason,
Well, I can't.
I am saying, making a motion, and I don't feel that taking a board down to make it in compliance would be a hardship. I am making a motion that your variance be denied.
I second.
Roll call,
Ms. Butler?
yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
There will be no meeting of the Board of Adjustments in August, and why do we have this on here about? Meetings adjourned. Oh,
August there is?
It says there is a meeting.
oh, in August. Mr. Brown?